What is going on, Hive Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about when do the health benefits start when intermittent fasting. I've talked about when body fat burning starts and all these other things in terms of weight loss, but what about the health benefits itself? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about a review that was done of multiple studies and show you what they saw in terms of the actual health activation when it came to intermittent fasting. I'm going to go ahead and break it down in this video. Stay tuned. Alright guys, quickly before I start, you already know this video is sponsored by yours truly, Fledge Fitness and the Fledge Fitness Jump Rope. If you haven't gotten yours yet, what are you waiting for? You know these bad boys always sell out, and with the ergonomic design, with the aluminum handle and the swivel design, you cannot go wrong with purchasing this speed jump rope. It'll definitely make your cardio much more varied and much more fun, and if you want your Fledge Fitness jump rope, click the link down in the description below or the card on the top right hand corner. And of course guys, thank you for your support. And now let's jump into the video. Okay, so based on the review of multiple studies that looked at the health markers of intermittent fasting and the trigger points, the activation points of these health markers, I'm gonna give you the number right away. I'm gonna talk about it, but I'm gonna tell you what the number is so that you know right away. So if you don't wanna stick throughout the whole thing to see the breakdown of everything and what they actually saw improve, that's fine. But these are the numbers. It takes about 4 to 12 weeks to see a full activation of these health markers. Now there's the number. If you got what you needed, then you can go ahead and go on your way. But if you want me to break it down for you, that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do now. It's interesting to know the things that happen when you are embarking on your intermittent fasting journey. And one thing that is really good about intermittent fasting is, yes, it helps you lose weight and burn body fat specifically, but it also improves biohealth markers. Study after study after study is showing this. There are even studies that show that it's not just because of the weight loss that the health markers are improving, as they take the control group and the intermittent fasting group, put them head to head, making sure they don't lose weight by feeding them at a caloric maintenance, but still see health improvements in the intermittent fasting group versus just the caloric maintenance group. And this is very telling. That means that the protocol itself, the intermittent fasting protocol in and of itself, can provide these health markers. Now, what the review was looking at was studies that looked at 16-8, which was time restricted feeding, and that tends to be earlier in the day rather than later in the day. It also looked at alternate day fasting, and it also looked at the 5-2 diet. It looked at things that range from 4 weeks, from 12 weeks, from 6 weeks, all these different ranges and the health response of all of these participants. Now, please understand that I want to say 90% of the participants on all of these different studies were either overweight or obese. So they weren't looking at people who are already lean or people who have an athletic build. A majority of them were overweight and obese. But what was some of the things that they found in these groups? What were the common themes that they saw within all of these groups put together? Well, one of the major things that they saw was blood pressure reduction. Blood pressure was reduced in most of the participants in these studies that they were reviewing, and it is simply because there was a reduction in concentration in total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and even triglycerides. And this coincided with helping the blood pressure of the participants. Atherosclerosis was even improved within the intermittent fasting group. It showed that IF inhibit the development of atherosclerosis by reducing the concentration in CRP, IL-6, and homocysteine. It also helped the transformation of macrophages into foam cells. It increased formation of extracellular deposits in the blood vessels, which made the migration of the endothelial cells within the arterial walls much more difficult. So basically what this means is that intermittent fasting helped make that migration where they're moving those cells and trying to create that plaque that can cause the clog and can actually lead to a heart attack if it keeps on building and the blood cannot travel freely through the vessels. It actually helps inhibit that migration. So you are actually doing things that can prevent you from having things like a heart attack, which is very very important. Also, prevention of hypertension, improve glucose metabolism, which is incredibly important, and this is something that is well known within the intermittent fasting community, that glucose metabolism is regulated and controlled very well when on an IF protocol, because you are reducing things like insulin resistance, you are increasing things like insulin sensitivity, because you are not constantly fueling your body or constantly giving your body glucose to work with and making your body resistant to that glucose because it's receiving it at a consistent clip. So because you give your body these breaks and these pauses and then these feeding times, and then again pausing, feeding, and pausing and feeding, you actually help work the insulin to be more insulin sensitive versus insulin resistance, which improves the glucose metabolism. And also it helps limit cardiac hypertrophy. So all of these things that are blood related, insulin, glucose, atherosclerosis, all of these different things that are blood related improve. Things that are connected to inflammation, those things are improved. And these things are seen through a vast line of studies that have been presented. And this is the reason why I'm touching on a review of all of those studies, because although it isn't a meta-analysis, they're not putting it through a system and creating controls and trying to figure it out, but they are looking through a vast array of studies that looked at the end results according to health, when it came to health. So it's still a lot of data that is very, very telling. And within these studies, the longevity of the studies went from 4 to 6 to 12 weeks. So I can comfortably say that based on these studies, that it is possible that if you started doing intermittent fasting, comfortably I can say that within 4 to 6 or 12 weeks, you should start seeing a drastic improvement in health. There should be a difference. If you were to look at your analysis, blood analysis, or have a physical on day 1 and then have a physical on week 12 and see how you feel, you should be able to see big differences health-wise. But that's not to say that the health doesn't start instantly when you start doing intermittent fasting, but these are how they tested these subjects, so we can use that and extrapolate that information and confidently say that these are the times where you would see that difference. But of course, your body starts going into that positive uptrend the moment you go into the intermittent fasting protocol, even on day 1. Just the point of fasting, allowing your body to relax from digesting consistently, constantly, and then your body can start to work on these other things, which can rear its, I want to say ugly head, but actually it's, I don't know, a positive term for that, but it will start to show. It will start to show down the line, 4, 6, 12 weeks in. So hopefully this video gives you more of an insight of when you can start feeling these health benefits. Sometimes you might have health things going on, but just because you feel energetic doesn't necessarily mean that you have something positive going on in terms of your health, but it is a good indicator. So hopefully this gives you a more direct look into the intermittent fasting protocol. And of course, nothing is for everyone. I always want to stress that not everything works for everyone. There's always non-responders within every study. So even a study that shows a significant positive event, there are non-responders in that group. If you have 10 people that go into a study and it worked for 9 people, it didn't work for that one person, but that study would show that it is a positive outcome. However, that one person still did not respond positively to that study or to that protocol and methodology that they used. So if you are that non-responder, you should see if you are. Check that out. Check your blood work, and then check your blood work after a certain period of time to see if there's improvements there. Always be willing to test things on yourself and be open-minded to actually getting the data of what is going on with your own body. So as always, guys, I want to thank my patrons from my Patreon, and I'm going to go ahead and put their names right up here. And of course, guys, I'll see you on Wednesday for another FAQ. Peace!